Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Salisbury City Council work session of September the 6th. And we have quite a few items on the agenda tonight. Hopefully we can handle them as quickly as possible, but giving enough time to have everybody heard. First item on the agenda is an ordinance to accept the Skatepark donation. And Rick is not here.
Hey, Eddie.
Yes, Brian.
Brian? Can you do it, Brian?
Not this one. He wasn't
I don't think it's going to be. Mr. Kitzrow.
Hi. Oh, you're okay. No, so with the skate park phase 2B, we had it funded, and we were a little bit short with our initial projections. So we ended up getting donations from the skate park committee of $9,500. So once we receive that donation, that will give us enough money to continue with our final phase of the skate park. So.
Is there timing on that? When
Yeah.
the construction?
Yeah, so the minute we get this and get the budget amendment, we'll have it in an account. We already know who we're gonna have it lined up with. We have a design made and everything, so
Yeah, I
our
know.
plan
Seen
is
the
to
design.
shovel in the ground October.
Oh, good. Questions from the council? April?
No.
Michelle?
No.
We have consensus to move it forward?
Yes.
Consensus?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Nichols, if you can get that on the agenda?
Yes.
Good afternoon, Rick.
I'm very sorry.
That's okay.
That's going to be Brian.
Brian?
You want Brian up there.
Yeah. Next, we have a resolution to close Paper Streets, Johnson Road, and Summers Gate.
Oh, you want to do that? Or?
You both can.
You can both sit up.
We can-
Deep breath. We are okay. We have cast of thousands.
Yeah, so for Johnson's Road and Summers Gate, these were initially deeded to us as part of a proposed realignment of Johnson Road at the time that redevelopment was planned. Since that was done, State Highway has moved forward. They do not intend to require us to realign Johnson's Road or Johnson Road with the signal that they're putting in at Robbins, so we felt no longer a need to have this. So deeding it back to Summers Gate as part of their other development plans for the rest of Summers Gate.
Okay. Questions or the council? Nope.
No.
April?
No. No.
Michelle?
No.
I'm sorry I have to keep calling you because I can't turn around that far.
Oh, I can also turn on our faces so they can
No,
see us.
that's okay.
Sorry.
No, it's all right.
Here we go.
Okay, consensus to move it forward?
Yes.
Ms. Nichols?
Yes, sir.
Next, ordinance to approve a text amendment to permit animal hospital in shopping centers.
I can take this one too.
Go right
So
ahead.
a request came forward from well, at the time, our Manfield Pet Hospital, which is currently located within PetSmart at the North Point Commons. They are looking for a new building. One of the buildings they came up with is in a general commercial zoning district, which triggered one from their request, our review of the zoning ordinance to see if that could be permitted in there. It was not. Based on discussions, we asked them to submit a text amendment to allow this to be permitted. It went to the Planning Commission for their review, and they had a favorable recommendation on July 21st, 2022. The permitted language is as shown. There was some discussion about the operation of such facilities, not to be confused. Animal hospital is a broad definition in the zoning code. This is not to be confused with, say, a pet's ER. That's why the language is written to prevent overnight care, not to be open 24 hours or outside runs, so that it is compatible with other uses in the shopping centers.
Great. And that vote on the planning commission was unanimous, by the way. Questions from the council?
No. No.
Thank you. Consensus to move forward?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Brian. Thank you, Rick. Next, we have a budget amendment to fund changes in overtime and incentives. And Chief Obarski is here to present.
How you doing?
I'm good.
Good. So we're here to look for an amendment in our budget for overtime. As you're aware, we have been growing enormously in the city. The call volume has, at this time, just surpassed our ability to cover those calls with just 3 EMS units in service. We're having to actually change our response model to try to accommodate the influx of calls. Last year in 21, we were at 12% overall the previous year in call volume. This year, we're 13% over that already, and we haven't even finished the year yet. So, I'm sorry, do you have a question? Oh, I'm sorry, I thought I heard you. So, yeah, we're looking for a budget amendment in that. When you look at other agencies around our area, the ones that we actually compete with, such as Talbot County, Caroline County, Queen Anne's County, Ocean City, departments that have actually already taken some of our people and who are currently trying to take our people. Talbot County ran 6,489 calls. They did it with 5 ALS units. Caroline County, they ran 6,003 calls with 5 ALS units. Queen Anne's County ran 8,093 calls with 5 ALS units. Ocean City, during their off-season, run 4. During their in-season, they run 8, and they run 6,500 calls. The city of Salisbury, we run 11,321 is what we ran in 2021, and we did it with 3 units. When you break that down, that's about 10, an average is about 10 calls per unit every day that we're running. So we had to obviously change something. We are trying to add, and we have been pretty successful over the last month with adding a 4th unit, using that overtime money to do that. We've been pretty successful so far in that endeavor. So we're looking to keep that in the future as well.
Questions, Mr. Boda?
I mean, this issue is not just countywide, but it's a national issue.
Yeah.
And I think anything that we can do, because it's either with our firefighters, with our paramedics, with our police officers, with our water and sewer technicians. I mean, they're always trying to pilfer our people, and it's a very, very competitive market. So anything that we can do to retain our people, I think it's critical that we do it. So 100%, 100%
Part of that
behind
change,
this.
or part of that retention that we're trying to do also along with this is incentives. We're talking about a $10,000 incentive one-time payout for not only people within our department to go to paramedic school, but to also try to be attractive for outside paramedics to come in. We've actually polled some of these departments. They're running into the same problems that we are as far as getting people to come in. The problem is we're not incentivizing enough where they are.
Yeah.
They're giving out the $15,000 to $10,000 bonuses. We're not.
I know we did this with the police department. Have we talked about referral bonuses?
So
Is that a piece of it too?
Well, so we have historically offered a referral bonus to other city employees who are able to make a referral. I don't know that we've had any success.
I think there's been one referral bonus to date at the police department.
I think the answer to that is sure.
Yeah.
We'd put it on the table, but the
Yeah.
reality is it's not. And if I can, Mr. President, if I can add a few things, in addition to the stats that the chief mentioned, I mean, there's also Annapolis. How many calls does Annapolis City have?
They run somewhere between 8,000 calls a year.
So a city, same size as ours, or maybe slightly larger, slightly smaller, depending on the year, but about the same size as ours. We have a massive influx of people here that is beyond even what Annapolis deals with. And this is an acknowledgement that we have to do something about it. Now, the thing that I would call your attention to is you look at the three categories of solutions here that the department has put forward. They really ought to be commended because there's something important that happened here, which is cross-departmental brainstorming to come up with solutions. I mean, oftentimes these things are, we don't know what to do, and it's just a disaster, and everybody's just saying crisis. But the response here was they put together a team that included both the emergency medical experts within the organization, leadership, members, all the way up and down the department, coming up with solutions. And yes, these solutions, many of them are expensive, but I think it's a lot less expensive to solve them now than down the road when we're trying to fill vacancies and nobody's available because they've all gone to, because other entities, to your point, Mr. Vice President, other entities have taken our talent, or other entities, worse yet, have created new positions that are going to further rob from our talent.
Well, and I think recognizing, when you're recognizing that, and it's going to cost, but the more units you can have on staff, the quicker we can respond to call, and minutes save lives. And my perspective is we can't put a price on someone's life. So, I think that's the approach, how I come at it. It's about service, and I think what I see you have in the letter, you're mentioning about creating salary ranges. Is that like the next step?
No, so that's something that we've done as far as recruitment in other areas where we've had major vacancies, where essentially you can come in, you can get credit for your experience elsewhere. So you're not starting at a step one, but rather can come in at a
more
range
appropriate to their
higher.
experience.
Exactly. And there's a trade-off, right? I mean, certainly down the road, or even at the front end of this, you look at your employees who've been here and put in years and say, you understand this person's going to come in getting credit for that, so they're going to come in as if they've been here for this time. But time and again, we've seen this in water and wastewater operators, we've seen this in police officers, and we've heard it from our firefighters, our firefighter EMTs and our firefighter paramedics, and said, no, we cannot have these vacancies. Because that adds stress to their lives, that makes life more difficult on our people. It's something that there is a trade-off, but it's a trade-off worth making.
And I just got an update on what Annapolis actually runs. So they run around a total of 12,545 calls, where we ran last year 15,164. They have 136 personnel, we have 102.
April, any questions?
Yeah, I wanted to ask, and I know the question is really simple, and I do know it, but our staff is leaving due to what?
Yeah, that's an easy one to address, Chief.
Yeah.
We just addressed.
Very easy, it's pay.
I understand, but if you're saying that our staff is leaving due to finances are not making that money, or we don't have the incentives to offer them, then what's the problem? If we want to keep people here, if we want people to come, then we have to give them incentives and we have to pay them
That's right.
what they're worth.
That's right.
Bottom line.
Thank you, April. Angela?
You're welcome.
Just two questions, and they're just kind of really fundamental, but I just wanted to know that with these increases, will any of this money create any compression salaries going forward? I think, I want to give everyone for this, yes, but I do want to ask that we don't get into
These directly do not.
They do not. Okay, because I don't want to get in a pickle in 6 months with
It's
that
a
whole
one,
issue.
it's a one-off bonus,
Okay,
or if you're bringing in somebody that has experience, I mean, they're coming in and they'll have to monitor that relationship with their peers. But we've heard that is, getting somebody in that seat is worth them coming in.
okay,
Yeah.
all right.
That was to my point that I was making about bringing someone in at a higher level than they would be if they were right off the street. Because that will still be in the range of their rank, it won't, that in and of itself won't create compression.
Okay, all right. And just the other thing, I just want to make sure, I'm sure Keith Cordry's had a look at this and has said this is okay. He's
Isn't it?
given the thumbs up.
I would-
I'm sure by the time it got to us, Keith has looked at it.
It doesn't get to us if you don't.
Yeah.
I'm just making sure, I'm just double sure, this is fine.
Money's in the bank.
I just want, yes and yes, that was it. There's fundamental questions. Thank you very much.
Michelle?
No, I just want to second what April said.
Okay,
We need to make sure we're taking care of these guys.
thank you.
And just one last comment, I think it's important to note that, many of these newer, agencies that are trying to poach our folks, we've got county friends in the room, they're smaller groups that are able to pay a higher rate because they don't have the overhead of 102 employees and 460 employees in total. They've got smaller budgets, but they're able, they're getting a larger appropriation compared to the city, countywide, other counties. So they're able to pay a higher rate than we are to be able to bring everybody's salary up all at once. So we're not necessarily playing with even hands here. So, but I do think this will help.
Just a couple of questions and comments. Number one, public safety is number one, always has been, always will be. But I do have some questions. Out of the calls, how many calls did we do? 15,000?
The total between
Total?
fire and EMS is
Right.
total.
How many of those were outside of our district?
That I don't have those numbers in
Can
front
you
of
get
me.
those numbers for me?
Mm-hmm,
That's important.
mm-hmm.
So I'd like to have that number.
We could easily get that.
Second of all, how many firefighters have we lost in the last 2 years? Firefighters / EMS.
We just lost one recently. Paramedic went to Talbot County. We are getting ready to lose another paramedic next month to Ocean City. As far as the last 2 years, I'd have to go back.
Yeah, Mr. President, if you look at those numbers, it won't give you, I think, an adequate picture of what is at risk. It's a smaller number than most, than other departments that size, of our departments. Turnover is not high compared to our other departments where turnover has been much higher. But what's happening is the landscape's changing. And so while we can easily get you those figures, I don't think it would give you an adequate picture of just how high the risk
It's just a
is.
piece of the puzzle.
Yeah, understood.
So
We
I'd
can
like to
you
get
that.
I'd like to get a piece of the puzzle.
Sure.
Then the
What-
next.
Can I offer one thing?
Sure.
What we might also want to do is show how many new positions have been created, paid positions at agencies around us. And that, I think, will present a picture of how much the risk is increasing in our area.
Well, I think the other piece, which we can't put a number on, is we're the fastest growing municipality, and it's not going to get any better, which is scary. Because when you look at the fact that our only income is property tax and fees, period. So, this is not going to go away, and if our growth continues the way it is, it's only going to get worse. And I'm just raising the flag saying, the next thing, what my first question when we get to the budget time's going to be. What's our surplus? What does our general fund look like at this point in time? And that's an important number. So I'm not saying that we shouldn't do this. I'm just saying, let's all be aware of what we're getting into, because things are not going to it's going to get better in terms of the business and the people, that's fine. but the expenses are gonna grow accordingly. And we have to find some way to pay for them. And the last question that I have is the $10,000 signing bonus. Is there a time period listed with that? There is?
There is.
What is the time period?
As far as how long they work with us,
Yes.
3 years.
3 years?
3 years. I think that's what the PD had as well,
Yeah.
if I'm not mistaken. And that wouldn't start until after they've completed the program itself, the
Right.
paramedic program itself.
Right.
And it's a 2-year program.
Okay. Consensus to move it forward?
Yes.
Yes.
Michelle?
Yes,
Okay.
sorry, it was not working.
That's okay. Okay. Kim, would you move it on the agenda?
Yes.
Thank you. You got one more,
Mm-hmm.
Chief.
Sure do.
This is like HVAC nightmare.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Never goes away.
Does anybody make a good HVAC anymore?
I'm not really sure. That's a good question.
For the money we're paying for these things?
Well, now you can get parts.
So, yeah, as you're well aware, we put in a capital improvement program for a new HVAC unit for the firehouse side of Station 16. Last year, the administrative side had a new HVAC system put in because it was having numerous issues. Same thing was happening on the other side. We were granted through a bond, improved. However, as we talked about cost, there was some price increase, not by a whole lot, but nonetheless, there was a price increase of about $1,120. We're able to pay through that through our own building funds, out of our own budget. So we've already talked to finance about that,
Mhm.
and they're good with that.
Yep.
That was their recommendation.
HVAC, I love it. Anyway, and they were late delivering the new system.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's like a 30-week
Yeah,
wait. It's gonna be a while before they even get it here.
oh God, I ran my business like that. Anyway, okay. Consensus to move it forward?
Yes.
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 Thank you.
Yes.
Thanks, Chief.
Thank you.
Next, we have a charter amendment, resolution number 2022-4, to provide for collective bargaining for certain employees of the city of Salisbury. Our city attorney, Ashley Boucher.
Yes, if you recall, this was on a work session agenda a few weeks ago, and there was consensus to move forward with the idea of collective bargaining. We had a very simplistic approach to the charter amendment. Initially, it read, the city of Salisbury by ordinance may provide for collective bargaining for city employees and appropriate units of pay and other terms and conditions of employment. Before that moved forward for a council meeting, certain employees leading the charge for collective bargaining met with administration, expressed some concerns, specifically with respect to it not being clear with binding arbitration. So we had some meetings, discussions on that. We reworked the charter amendment, and now it's before you in a revised version to make clear that we are permitting binding arbitration as defined by our soon-to-be labor code. In our last meeting or work session, we had that roadmap. There were the 4 steps. We went through all of those. So again, this is just the first step to collective bargaining. And what we've tried to do here is to make clear what the labor code is going to address and not address. And it will include a binding arbitration provision that we will define through the labor code.
Questions from the council? Any questions?
Is,
Angel?
is the labor code, I see the letter, did you already add it in the labor code?
No, the labor code
Okay.
is in the works. That will
Okay.
not be passed until the charter amendment becomes effective. We have to have the authorization through the charter amendment to allow for collective bargaining, and then thereafter we will pass a labor code. There is no current labor code.
we'll have an ordinance for that.
Yes.
Okay, because I saw the ordinance for the charter.
The resolution.
The resolution for the charter, yeah.
Okay, so that's,
There's two different things.
Mhm.
Can't get to a labor code until you adopt a
Right.
resolution. charter.
So, yep, and what we're saying in this charter amendment is that we're allowing for collective bargaining. We're allowing for binding arbitration for certain labor disputes that could arise. And that we are going to deal with all of this in a labor code, and then we go on to say in this charter amendment what the labor code is going to address, which would include the subjects of bargaining, including what's negotiable and what's non-negotiable, or both, the rights of the employer and the employee, the units appropriate and inappropriate for collective bargaining, grievances, unfair labor practices, permissible and impermissible union activities, and the scope and method of what that arbitration is going to be.
and that's still in the development then?
That is
Okay,
correct,
I just want,
yes.
I'm sorry, I just want to make sure I get that.
The labor code is going to be
Clear.
much more extensive. It would
Okay.
be, a multi-page document addressing all of these various topics.
Very well, thank you.
April?
Oh, I'm fine.
Okay. Michelle?
Just in my head. No, I'm fine.
I'm good, thanks.
Okay. We have consensus to move it forward?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. Ms. Nichols?
Yes, sir.
Next, ordinance to fund construction of Waterside parking lot. Mr. Kitzrow?
We are close to the finish line with Waterside Park's parking lot. In 2019, we received a Community Parks Playground grant to do a parking lot and do various iterations and several bids. We have landed on a project that we can afford to do. However, because it's taking a little bit of time, our original award, like anything 3 years old, is underfunded. But luckily, we had money in that same PAYGO funds that are no longer needed in the original project, that we can shift over to this project and begin construction on a much-needed playground parking lot at Waterside Park.
That was 2019? I thought it was 38 then.
What? Yeah, probably
1938.
Seems like,
about,
seems like only last decade.
It's been a while.
Well, it's good.
Yeah.
Questions? No?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm pretty glad that this is happening, but I'm looking forward to a lot of other things to happen in our parks, in our city parks.
And just April, our CDBG funding, this planning year, 2022, the funding has not been released, but the lion's share of that, just shy of $300,000, is earmarked for Waterside Park. So
Okay.
we just have to wait for that funding to come through. So we've kind of divided up the work, and that will include a pavilion and hopefully bathrooms. Got some
Thank you.
facilities out there. Yep.
To add to that, we've got our CPP request this year is for funding for equipment upgrades in 3 other parks. So we've got a lot of park stuff happening in the coming years.
Andy,
I was specifically speaking about the Waterside Park. I'm just looking as I have gone out to some of the parks, and seen some things that needed to be extensively done with the parks, with our local parks, not our city park, but with our local park. So that's why I was making that comment, Andy. And I really appreciate Waterside Park being one of the main parks and getting this parking lot done. But I like to see some other things happen too.
Yes, I was referencing neighborhood parks, so it's Woodcock,
Yeah.
Lake, Doverdale, Waterside, all have various things in the works.
Thank you.
I have a question, not about this per se, but about you said something about the pavilion at Waterside.
Mhm.
I think the little pavilion, was that gone?
Gazebo.
Or gazebo,
It's
is
been
that
gone.
taken out?
It's been gone.
I know it's been gone.
It's been
Is it
gone
gonna be
for years.
replaced?
The plan, it could be replaced, or this larger pavilion
That's
area
what I
is
was-
gonna be the gathering
You said
space.
something about a pavilion, I wanted to hear
That
about
would be
that.
that would be the plan.
Okay,
This, the $300,000+ is targeted at a pavilion that's similar to what's at Lake Street or Doverdale or,
Mhm.
with enclosed facilities plus
Yeah.
open air, taking it to that next level.
Yeah.
nice, thank you.
All right, Ms. Nichols, could you move that forward? Next, we have to accept and surplus MTA buses. Ms. Glanz.
Good evening. Before you is a resolution to officially accept 5 MTA buses that were donated to us by Maryland Transit Administration back in 2018. We had a little bit of an oversight in officially accepting those. We have held title to those 5 buses for the last 5 years, but I think somehow in the run-up and excitement to hosting our first folk festival, we skipped a step here. And if you recall, we reached out to Maryland Transit Administration for those buses for a couple of reasons, but one was to help with site security at the National Folk Festival over at the Dance Pavilion on Lake Street. And so since that, we had hoped that we'd be able to use the buses for transit purposes. As we've dug into, gotten under the hood, we realized that they are not financially feasible to use in that way. They're also a little bit too large for our streets. So if we were to ever pursue something in that realm, it would be with a smaller vehicle. So this is just to accept the buses tonight. Jen Miller will be back next week with a request to surplus them. And we do hope that we will receive some funds for whoever may buy them, or if they turn into scrap or whatever. We're hopeful to get a couple dollars back.
Questions from the council?
No,
Nothing?
no.
What? It's 5?
It's fine.
Why did I think it was 4? Was it always 5?
It's always
Mhm.
Hmm.
Would you like one, Jeff?
Anybody want to buy a bus? No, I have enough trouble. Okay. We'll move that forward. Everybody okay?
Yes.
Thank you. Next, we have a resolution to adopt the Wycomico County Multi-Hazard Mitigation Plan.
So I'd like to invite up Lorenzo from Wycomico County. So every 5 years, the county and the municipalities within the county are required to update and adopt Wycomico County hazard mitigation, and this year including a resilience plan. And this is for funding after storms and other major disasters. That's a requirement to accept this document. So Lorenzo is here to get into the nitty-gritty, but the city of Salisbury was a part of the planning process. There were 90+ individuals in the county representing government, residents, business. So much more inclusive process, I think, than in previous years, which we can all be really proud of. So thank you for taking the lead on that. And so, there's any number of instances that are represented in this very large document. So if you have questions, Lorenzo is here to answer them. Do you want to add any overview?
I think you hit most of it. As you said, it was actually a little better than 100 and some odd people on the committee from all walks of life, from the community, from private school educators, the public schools, the colleges, industry, municipalities. It was just a plethora of individuals that come up with this plan. I kind of just helped facilitate it, but they did all the
If I could, before, I just want to, when I first opened it up and started to read it, which I read over the weekend.
Yeah, it was like,
I've only gotten like 3/4 of the way through it, I will say that. But I also want a disclaimer. My name is on that. When I signed up, I was going to be an observer. My contribution to the document was zilch. But I will tell you that it was done extremely well. The group put a tremendous amount of work. I was able to attend a couple of the Zoom meetings as an observer, and that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to learn the process, and the document itself is extremely detailed for a document of that type, I think, and they should be commended for it. So thank you and the group It was fantastic. Any questions in particular? I may have questions after I finish reading the last quarter, but any questions from the council?
I've got a book that big at work too, so.
You haven't gotten there?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I mean, we put it together and stuff, but yeah,
Cool.
I've been through it.
Cool. Angela, comments or questions?
No, I dare not have a comment about it. I dare not. I mean, 100
Page
people have spoken.
321.
Yeah, people have spoken, 100 some people have spoken. I think it's well put together.
Yeah.
No comments.
April?
No comments. It's a lot.
Michelle?
No comments. I'm just glad I'm not the only one who couldn't get all the way through.
That's right.
Yeah, there's no way.
See, the problem is I read every line. Because, from,
Yeah.
from comments.
Well, it's good sometimes because you might miss something.
Yeah. Well, thank you, and thank you, team, please, for us. We appreciate it.
Mr. President, I would just add that, I mentioned it in my opening comments on this topic, but adding in information on resiliency, I think is really important.
Yeah.
And that's something that hasn't been, planned in a document in years past. So, our thinking has evolved, and that's important to keep up with the world we live in, so.
You're doing an awesome job.
And one of the things you'll note in there is the mitigation efforts that have been already undertaken. One of them that I really appreciate the coordination on is the North Palm Park.
Right.
Seeing that there are mitigation benefits to even the public access things that we're
Yep.
trying to work on. So just great to see city-county coordination. on
Yep.
things like that.
Yep,
Thank you, Lindsay.
thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. We're
Good to move that forward.
we can move that forward.
Yes,
Okay.
please, quickly.
Now, the special meeting was not supposed to start till 6:10. But we can, I guess we can,
I think we can
All right.
move on. I mean, 'cause
I'd like to call the special meeting of the Salisbury City Council of September 6th, 2022 to order. I'll entertain a motion and a second to adopt the legislative agenda.
So moved. Second.
We'll give Mr. Boda and we'll give the second to April. Okay? All those in favor of the legislative agenda as presented, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Aye.
Opposed? And the chair votes aye. The legislative agenda is approved by a vote of 5-0. We have two ordinances, and they will be presented by our city attorney, Ms. Boucher.
Okay, we'll start with ordinance number 27.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Let me get a motion and a second before we do that.
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Blake, Ms. Jackson. Now you may go. Thank you for protecting me.
Starting with ordinance number 2735, an ordinance of the City of Salisbury approving a budget amendment of the FY 2023 general fund budget to appropriate funds to the Salisbury Fire Department's operating budget. This is before you for first reading. Whereas the need for the provision of emergency services in the city is great, and whereas the fire department is experiencing a significant increase in call volume that surpasses the current staffing configurations, and whereas the fire department has a need to staff an additional EMS unit with overtime funds to cover calls, and whereas the fire department is no longer competitive with area agencies and is experiencing a paramedic shortage, and whereas the fire department needs to provide incentive bonuses to recruit and train new paramedics, and whereas the fire department has a college education tuition program that covers the cost for members to obtain paramedic certification, and whereas there are insufficient funds available in the FY 23 fire department budget to cover the additional expenses of recruiting, training, and retaining paramedics, and accordingly a budget amendment is required. And whereas the budget amendment as provided herein must be made upon the recommendation of the mayor and with the approval of 4/5 of the council of the city of Salisbury. Now therefore be it enacted and ordained by the council of the city of Salisbury Maryland as follows. Section 1, the City of Salisbury's fiscal year 2023 general fund budget B and is hereby amended as follows. A, increase the current year surplus account 01000469810 by $300,000. B, increase the Salisbury Fire Department's overtime account 24035-501021 by $200,000. C, increase the Salisbury Fire Department's employee incentive program account 24035-502088 by $80,000. And D, increase the Salisbury Fire Department's training and schools account, which is 24035-555504 by $20,000.
Okay, questions or comments? Mr. Boda? Ms. Jackson?
No comment. I'm fine.
Ms. Blake?
None.
Mrs. Gregory?
No comment.
Hearing none, I'll call the motion. All those in favor of ordinance number 2735, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? The chair votes aye. Ordinance number 2735 for the first reading is approved by a vote of 5-0. I'll entertain a motion to approve ordinance number 2736 for the first reading.
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Jackson, Ms. Blake.
Ordinance number 2736, an ordinance of the City of Salisbury approving an amendment of the city's FY 2023 Fire Department's budget and the General Capital Project Fund budget to provide funds for the Fire Station number 16 HVAC project. Whereas the City of Salisbury recently planned for repairs to the HVAC system at Fire Station 16, and whereas previously the FY 23 budget appropriated $130,000 for the repairs. And whereas the city has determined an additional $1,120 is required to complete the project based upon the bids that have been received. And whereas the city has determined that an additional $1,120 can be best funded by amending the fire department's FY 23 budget to transfer funds into the General Capital Project Fund. And whereas the appropriation is necessary to execute the purpose of the $1,120 in funds as provided here and above must be made upon the recommendation of the mayor and the approval of 4/5 of the council of the city of Salisbury. Now therefore be it enacted and ordained by the council of the city of Salisbury as follows. Section 1, Mayor Jacob Arday is hereby authorized to appropriate funds transferred from the fire department's building account to the General Capital Projects Fund equipment account in the amount of $1,120. Section 2, the City of Salisbury's FY 23 General Fund Budget be and hereby is amended as follows. Decrease the expense account for project description that's identified as none. The account description buildings, account number 24035-534301 in the amount of $1,120. And then we're increasing that same amount, and that would be to account description transfer general capital projects funds, and that is account number 91001599109. The City of Salisbury's General Capital Fund Project Fund budget be and hereby is amended as follows. Increase revenue for the Fire Station 16 HVAC repair. The account description transfer in the general fund, which is account number 98024-469313 XXXXX by the amount of $1,120, and increase expense for Fire Station 16 account description equipment, account 98124-577030-XXXXX by the same amount, which is $1,120.
Thank you. Questions or comments?
None.
Thank you. I'll call the motion. All those in favor of ordinance number 2736 for the first reading, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Chair votes aye. Ordinance number 2736 for the first reading is approved by a vote of 5-0. That concludes the special meeting agenda, and I'll now call on the administration for any comments. Mr. Mayor?
I have nothing. Well, that's not true. I don't think we've met since the Folk Festival.
No.
So I want to say nice job to the team. Thank you, council, for your participation. Appreciate everybody who was a part of making it a great last year as the National, and look forward to making it the Maryland Folk Festival next year.
Thank you. Ms. Lance and Mr. Kitzrow, any comments?
No, sir.
Mr. Boda?
Did we get a number on attendance? Or-
Yeah, I don't have that or
Okay.
the
Okay,
we'll get all that
Okay,
out.
cool.
Attendance, bucket brigade numbers, beer sales, we'll get all that out.
yeah, it was great. I volunteered like 3 shifts, and just really fun backstage, and Wiley and the Wild West, man.
Oh, man, they
They
were
were
smoking.
And then I was at the Powder Hill stage when the storm came through, and we're trying to get the blues legend off the stage, and it was something. But NC Ribs on Wheel, that was some legit North Carolina barbecue and sweet tea. I probably spent $150 at that place.
Okay.
So just to say, but no, it was great. Enjoyed it, and looking forward to next year's Maryland Folk Festival. So that's all I got.
Thank you. April?
Well, I enjoyed myself too at the Folk Festival with my family, and a lot of people stopped by the booth and asked them many questions and got the answers that they wanted. And matter of fact, we were educated ourselves by some people. I thank you for the prayers for my mother. She's getting better. I've been kind of down myself, not feeling great, but I just thank everybody for just being there, and I just thank the National Folk Festival for selecting my daughter and our family to be one of their family vendors, right? We weren't a vendor, but we were there. And I just appreciate it. Julia, thank you for stopping by and taking the picture. My daughter was really flabbergasted. But I thank everybody for just being who they are, and just tell everybody to remain safe out here. There's a lot of stuff going on, and we're seeing it day by day. Just be safe, be conscious, be kind. Thank you.
Thank you, April. Angela?
The folk festival was fantastic. I appreciate Michelle picking me up to take me one evening. That was nice. I did go Sunday afternoon a little bit. I did get some ice cream and stuff. That was nice. Let's see. I wanted to talk about the library committee that I sit on. Starting next week, I'm picking up another shift at the counseling services where I'm at. So I'm going to need somebody from the council to be the city representative for that. And their next meeting is not until October the 18th from 4 to 6. But I can still do the human rights one because that's when Thursday evenings at 7. So,
Yeah.
oh, it's 6. I'm sorry, it's 6. It's 6.
So think about it. If you have a committee that maybe you're willing to switch, that's fine. As long as the time matches.
Yeah.
All right. And if not, we'll find some way of covering it. But if you can help, that would be great. I know we're spread thin.
When is it, Angela?
The next one is
Yeah, I was about to.
Tuesday, October the 18th, from 4 to 6.
Remind me. I'll probably help you with that. Remind me.
All right. I just wanted to remind everybody and just give a shout out to the county. There was the first day of school for many of our students. It was a great first day at Choices Academy. I was very excited to see a lot of our students return and in good spirits and looking forward to having a good school year. Please stop for the school buses, please. And if you're healthy enough, please donate blood.
Thank you, Angela. Michelle?
Well, so just a heads up, COVID is still there. It's hit our house this week, so if you haven't seen me, that's why. I'm on the tail end of it. I'm cleared to do stuff after Wednesday. Unfortunately, there are other people in the house that have caught it since then. So please, there's a new booster that's been released actually this past weekend. Horrible timing on my part. But there's a new booster to deal with the more recent strains. So if you are eligible, please look on the state of Maryland's website or Wycomico County Health Department's website and find out if you're eligible for it and get the booster. You really don't want this mess. Even vaccinated and boosted, it is no fun. So go get your boosters, guys.
Thank you, Michelle. I just want to echo every year I have more fun at the National Folk Festival, driving the acts around. And we had some humdingers this year, I'll tell you. It was a total joy to do it, and I look forward to it next year. And again, to echo Angela, as I always do, about the blood situation. We're still not out of the woods. On a positive note, I just saw this afternoon that the COVID rate from Wycomico last week was 10.1, which is almost equivalent to, 12.1. And it's about 2 points higher than the state. So there has been a little bit coming down. Hospitalizations are still in pretty good shape, though, according to Chris Hull. So thank you, everyone, and without further ado, we're adjourned.